Sorry, okay, and this is my application called Travel Memories. And Travel Memories is a full stack web application created in React and Node.js for people who love to document their travel memory entries. So when using the application, users are able to search locations and landmarks from around the world, plot where they've traveled to on a map, and search through their memories. So within the add entry page here, the user is directed to a form where they can submit the entry. And the first input box utilizes autocomplete from Google Maps API places library. And this searches a location. So let's say we were in New York around this date. And favorite moments is optional, so I'm going to skip that for now. And once I submit the entry, a notification will pop up. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Let me retry that again. I think my internet just decides to act up right now. Okay, so let me retry that. New York, somewhere around this month, submit, and then a notification will pop up to let you know whether or not the entry submitted successfully. And it also allows the user to interact directly with Mapbox API. And you can zoom in to confirm the location, or you can just press on the marker to display a pop-up of the location. So throughout this application, I am using REST APIs designed with fetch methods to interact with both the outside API and the backend API, or the backend database. And the database I'm using here is Postgres. If we head over to the memories page here, this is where you can see all of the travel memory entries. And the user has the option to search a location, and it will automatically filters through the list. And the user has the option, and they can either delete I'm so sorry. Let me try it. So they can delete the listing, and it will pop up a modal to confirm deletion. So over the past few days, I've been working on implementing user authentication using the Argon 2 hashing password library, and with secure authorization from JSON Web Token, so that users can be able to save the entries on their account. And a feature that I'd like to show you is my memory map component. And within my memory map component, I am returning a memory prop that's being passed in from add entry component, that is also being passed in from the app component. And within the app component, I have a component did mount that's returning get all memories. And the get all memories method right here is basically using the fetch method to send a get request to my server, so that for all the travel memories submitted, so that I can save it to memories as state. And then I'm gonna pass the memories to my memory map component. And we're in memory map component once again, and I am within the rendering method, I am returning React map GL, and along with how the map is being displayed. The first one being all of the viewports, or like the visible area you see on the map, the height, the width, the token, the map style, and then an on viewport change that React map GL provided, so that it gives us a new location. So when we call handle viewport change up here, it changes the current viewport to the new viewport, so that it makes the map draggable or zoomable. within React Map GL here, I am mapping through memories prop and returning each individual memory to return a marker. And the marker takes a latitude and a longitude of each memory. And then it on line 47, where I have a button, when the user clicks on the button, it saves that memory to the selected location state. So that for line 57, I have a ternary expression that checks to see if there is a selected location stored in state, then return a pop-up. And this pop-up, like marker, also takes in a latitude and a longitude. And then it returns the name of the selected location. And some features that I like to implement in the future is the ability to sort and filter through this entry, all of the entries here, either by location or date, and the ability to drag these sticky notes. And then one difficult thing that I encountered was rendering the markers on the map. At first, the markers weren't accurately placed on the map, but then I realized it was because I used parsed int instead of parsed float to get the whole decimal. And then another thing was that that I added to fix the problem was Mapbox React Map GL provided these properties of offset left and offset top, which just offsets the marker a little bit so that it's more accurate on the map. And yeah, that is it for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and sorry about the mishap earlier.
Great job, Hien. Quick question before the employers jump in. What is your favorite travel memory?
I would say my favorite travel memory is Maui, because that's where I went snorkeling for the first time and I had so much fun.
Awesome. Do we have any questions for Hien? Yeah, Steve.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, Hien, I think your application is really great. Great job.
So much, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, well, we can move forward. And Steve, the floor is still yours.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. All right, hi everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Steve Smith. I'm a full stack web developer. The application I've designed, I'm not sharing my screen.
Don't worry, we love the suspense.
There we go. Everyone, you can see now. Okay. The application I've designed is called the Drip Email System. It's an application designed to send out customized emails to large groups of people over a prolonged period of time. Some of the libraries I've utilized are Node, React, Express, and Node Mailer. These are just some of the ones that I've used more. There are some others too. The feature I'm going to take some time to show you today is called, or I guess you'd call it, user can launch flight. And what this just means is that the user can initiate the sending of the initial email in a chain of emails. We should take a kind of a step back though and describe kind of what a flight is, just so it kind of gives you a little context. A flight is the fundamental operating unit of the application. So a flight contains one script, and one script must contain at least one email, but it can contain more. And a flight also contains contacts. If a flight lacks any of these, a user cannot launch the flight. So with that, I've taken the time to already set up the flight so we can kind of get down to the meat and potatoes of the application. In this case, our flight is right here. And as you can see, we've got a flight set up. We've got a script assigned to it. And we have a number of contacts assigned to it. And I'm going to initiate our flight right here. And then I'm going to check if it worked. In the past, I've gotten some kind of rejection message from our Outlooks. I guess when I first got it working, I got a little excited and sent out too many emails. But it looks like we're back on track here, and I'm still sending emails. So here we go. Here's the second. Here it is. Here's the third one. Okay. Now I want to take a second and run you through my code, just like Hien did. But I want to run you through it sort of from top to bottom. So I want to start with this button right here and then go to progress down through the code. So here. Okay, so the component that we were looking at, where that button lives, is a functional component, but it renders conditionally within the managed flight component, and it only renders when the user, or at least one contact, excuse me, is assigned to the flight. So when that happens, we're able then to launch the flight. A number of things take place in this this component, but none of which we're going to go through, except this function right here, which is the fetch call, which launches our flight. The function that does that lives in a separate module. And as you'll see, it fires a call to a resource, API, email, and then the ID of the flight is passed in as well. The launch flight has I'll tell you what, let's just go take a look at the endpoint, and we'll learn more about it. But this is basically allowing us to access information in the database that we need about, like, in relation to that first email. So the first name of the person, the last name of the person, their email, etc., etc. And here it is right here. This is where we created that endpoint. And after running through a little bit of some guards, we have our a PostgreSQL query here, and then we send it into the database, and we basically pull out that information. And once we do, we direct that information into a function called the handle email function. This is the function which allows us to actually send emails. So let's take a look at that quickly. So a number of things take place in here. First of all, we pass in a configuration for NodeMailer, which basically allows us to to keep like a long story kind of short and brief, it allows us to configure the SMTP protocol so that we can communicate with other email servers. So like in this case, I'm using an Outlook email to send emails, so it must be configured for Outlook so that when an email is actually sent, it's understood. Once that it's configured within an object, and then there's some functionality attached to that object. Chiefly, SendMail is attached to that object. I guess I should take a step back here. I'm sorry about this. Some other things take place as well in the body of this function. But what's most important in relation to what we were just discussing is the message itself is configured. So who's the message from, who's it to, what's the body of the message, and the subject. And then that message itself is passed into the send mail method of the transporter object, and that's what actually sends the email that I created before we hopped into the meetings today. So that's kind of the code that for that feature. I hope you enjoyed it. As to some things that I'd like to add to it, one thing I just got done with last night, I really wanted to show it, but I just don't feel I didn't feel ready to kind of put it out there because it's not sanded and polished yet. I wanted to show you all the sending of the second, the third, the fourth email after an interval. But it just wasn't sanded down. I've gotten it working, but I've made some changes to my code that I'm not comfortable with in order to have that take place. So I've got to figure out what the issues are there. But that's really that's like that's really what I've been driving for a little while. So I'm really kind of happy with that. Some other things that I've got planned. I'd like to add user authentication, but I'd also like to add companies to users so that when a user adds a contact, that another user attached to the company can also access the contact. I think that would make the application more robust and sort of more meaningful experience for people. Those are just some of those are the top of my list. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for coming today.
Nice work, Steve. Any questions other than, potential where's the unsubscribe button in case, too many emails come through?
Hey, Steve, I have a question. Thanks for sharing that. I was just curious if you could share the high-level design of how you implemented the interval sending.
What do you mean interval sending? I don't know.
Sorry, I think you mentioned you developed but didn't show a scheduled or delayed sending.
Oh, okay. So my understanding of how it's done is that those commands have to take place within a different module within the application. So the issue, and then I guess what has to happen is like there's some kind of caller that will run like a query, like or a command line call to it like every hour saying, check for all all emails that are less than now and send them. So one of the issues I was having with it was actually the node mailer configuration. So and there seemed to be issues with how if I like put in, for example, like if I put in my username and password locally within that module where that was going to run, it would work. But if I tried to use the environment variables, it wouldn't work, which I thought was a little offbeat. So and I'm not comfortable leaving my my password and credentials in the file, obviously. So that's something I'm still looking to get through. So yeah.
Thank you.
Joey, did you have something as well?
Yeah, I think if you looked at the index.js, was that like the get API endpoint to get mail? I guess the one thing I would ask to think about is, I guess, is handle email in the sense of sending an email the best, is the get endpoint for getting an email the best place to also put the handling of email in the sense of sending email? Why might that not be the best place to kind of put that function?
You put me on the spot here. So my understanding is that my understanding in this case is that this is a callback here. So the only way I have access to this data is by calling it within the function itself. So the answer to, I don't know the answer to your question.
I would say, I think the big thing for me is just, I think as you continue to write code, you'll start to think about kind of separations of concerns, in the sense that you'll want one thing or something to do one thing only, and just being able to have reusable code. So for example, let's say you wanted to get a list of emails that might go out without sending it. You now have to write kind of two different get API calls, one that just returns the data and one that's actually sending the email, versus if you took the handle email out of the get request, and you could reuse the get request just to fetch emails,
right,
with only having to do it once. And then when you wanted to actually send the email, you could call the handle email function, maybe in the button click. So it would send out that one get request, wait for the data to come back, and then pass that data into the handle email function. And that way you separated it out of the get API, because it, a programmer that didn't know how you wrote this might think that the get API purely gets the email without knowing that it actually sends the email as well. And you could have like a HBO Max issue where someone calls the get API and emails a bunch of customers unknowingly. So that was the only thing I would have, is just be careful sometimes in terms of where you group functionality together, just so that things don't kind of happen that other developers may come in and not kind of expect.
Awesome. I'm glad Steve's taking notes too. Cool. Well, let's keep moving forward. And next up, I think Steve, you'll unshare your screen first, and then it'll give Jake the ability to jump on in and give his demo. Nice work, Steve.
All right, can you guys hear me? I'm good. All right, cool. Sorry. All right. Hi, my name is Jake Finlayson. I'm a former professional soccer player turned full stack developer. I have absolutely no idea why I'm so nervous right now. I've played in a Division I Final Four, and I've played in front of over 20,000 fans. So no idea why I'm so nervous. But anywho, this is my full stack app called ThoughtBets. ThoughtBets is an interactive, friendly competition between users to rack up the most tokens by making wagers on soccer/football matches. Users are able to see upcoming fixtures, make wagers on those fixtures, view the status of post wagers made, and see where they rank on the leaderboard. ThoughtBets was developed in React with Node.js and a back-end server created in Express with a PostgreSQL database. So upon landing on ThoughtBets, the user is taken to a sign-in page where the user is given the option of signing in or creating an account. Authentication and registration was implemented using the help of the Argon 2 hashing password library with secure authorization provided by JSON Web Tokens. So upon signing in, the user is taken to the homepage. And then upon signing in, obviously to the homepage, you can either enter the site or sign out of the site. So after pushing the button here, the user can immediately see today's fixtures and the kickoff time for those fixtures. If there are no games, the user sees a prompt saying that there are no fixtures like this. And users are able to see past games and the score of those past games and able to see future games using this horizontal date picker here, utilizing the date FNS library to sort out the corresponding fixtures based on the date buttons that are pressed. The fixtures come from the football API. The football API requests that developers only make requests for fixtures once a day. And due to some extreme rate limits, the whole week's worth of fixtures are saved conditionally to the database in a JSON cache column every Tuesday, and then sorted by time zone on the client side using, again, date FNS. So on the fixture card here, you can see the team's logos and the team names, as well as the time the games start based on the user's time zone. When the user clicks on the fixture card, the user can now see the fixture details card, and the user can see like the stadium name and the stadium city and the referee who might be refereeing the game, which are all important things to know when you want to make a wager. The previous, So the previous past results here are shown using customized icons that were made using Canva and are conditionally created through a function that analyzes the string that is brought down from the database using Axios API. The user can pick a team by clicking on their logo. However, you can see here, I have an active wager for this fixture, so I can't click on a team because it doesn't make sense to bet on a game twice. So we'll go into this fixture here, which actually has one of my old teams playing. So we're gonna bet on them, right? So unfortunately, due to the lack of odds information that the football API produces, the odds are created in the server using a random odd generator function. And since home teams usually have a distinct advantage in most matches, the away odds are usually higher, but that's not always the case. It just means that you're able to make more money, or more tokens betting on an away team. So when the user clicks on a logo, a wager slip is displayed, as we can see here, that the user chose. It shows the logo and the odds. And then so when we do this, we can only bet on games that haven't started yet, as the wager slip is conditionally closed with the evaluation of UNX timestamps for the specific game, as well as, like I mentioned earlier, they can't bet again on games that they've already have an active wager for. So the user can choose a positive number in order to make a wager. The user can only type in a number, and if the user tries to input a negative value, the wager will not be able to be submitted. So the user can check how much profit they'll make here. So if we give 100 tokens, we can check the profit, and the profit will be like 168 tokens, and our total payout will be 268 tokens. So if we were to put in a negative number in there, obviously wouldn't be able to go out. And then if we check up here, we can see that our total token number right now is 1900. We wouldn't be able to bet more than 1900 tokens as well. So if we enter this amount here, the 100 tokens, we can see up in here that it'll change the token amount. And we can also go back and check and see our previous bets that we have made here. And in this profile, we can see our name, the token amount that we currently have, and our current rank on the leaderboard. And then let's see, the user can also see their past bets and the results of those bets in their profile. Each day, the server makes a request to the football API to get the results of the previous day's fixtures. So using a bet validation helper function, the server processes the winning team for each game and adjudicates each bet a user has made corresponding to the winning team. Upon doing so, a winning bet's profit amount is added to the user's token amount through an aggregate function query in Postgres. The results are rendered conditionally, again, based on if the bet has been evaluated. Yellow equals pending, green equals a winning bet, and then red equals a lost bet. The user also has the ability to see a leaderboard here, and it's just a normal leaderboard. It ranks the top token amount in descending order and just updates every time a user makes a wager. So since the cohort has ended, I've added the following features: bet validation, adding tokens to users' token amount if they won a certain bet. I've added authorization, and I've also added the functionality of seeing post scores, as well as error handling for network errors. Planned features ahead are the ability to see more than one league. The rate limits are a big issue here, so I have to find a workaround with that. I also want to add communication between friends in a group chat. I want to learn Socket.io. I think that'd be kind of cool to learn. And then the ability to make a small league of up to 10 different users. And then I think the biggest thing that I'm going to try and do here in the next couple of weeks is refactor this whole thing, just using hooks and using a state management like Redux. So thank you guys for viewing, and let me know if you have any questions or want to see some of my code.
Nice work, Jake. Fire away. He was a goalkeeper, so he's used to taking shots.
I'll jump in. This is a really cool app, Jake. I actually I spent some time working on a fantasy sports related something myself, so I know there's a lot of considerations that you need to make here. And I was actually going to ask you if you had made a consideration for not placing a bet after an event had started or something like that. So that's cool to see that you did that and have all this figured out. So I think you said quickly, your total token amount, I think you don't actually have that current total saved anywhere. It's just calculated via a SQL aggregate function. Is that right?
Yeah, so every time, like once a day, after the day has ended and all the results for the previous day are in, it takes like the user's token amount after they have, you know, in the database, you save the user's amount, like the current amount. So I have a patch function that, or a patch route in here that patches the token amount. I think if you can see that there, so it patches it up after every single bet. And then, so after every single bet, after every day, then the token amount is then changed via if they won the bet. And then obviously, since I've already changed it, I don't need to change it again if they lose it, because it's just they're losing the wager that they put in.
Got it. Makes sense. Very cool. Oh, it's a cool app. And yeah, definitely jump into React hooks are great to learn. And React hooks are not too difficult to learn at all. And then Redux has a bit more of a learning curve, but especially for something like this, would be very helpful.
Yeah. I said that during our project the last time. I said I think knowing how to do Redux going into this would have been massive and just would have helped with a lot of stress that I had.
Yeah, I can recommend you a little online course that I found for Redux if you're interested.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
You got it. Great job.
Thank you.
Hey Jake, I'm going to jump in here, Billy. So my question is, obviously you come from this, so it sounded like the biggest sticking point was almost like the rate limit of your API, which seems like it gives you all of your football data. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So as someone kind of coming from that industry, did you see a gap in the data that you got and kind of, I mean, just kind of almost sounds like the API itself was the sticking point. So did you give any thought to how you could, in theory, enhance that API or potentially write it yourself, but better?
Honestly, the API was really well thought out. I mean, there's some things that I personally didn't like. The one was, I mean, just for the football API in particular, like their odds weren't very good, like where they were getting their information, I think was kind of an issue. But honestly, I don't see any, like I didn't really have any too big of concerns with it other than the rate limit. And I know that's just an issue that every, API kind of has, like you have to limit the amount of people that come in or else you're going to be stuck with some overage charges and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, other than the rate limit, this thing was pretty well thought out. That, and then this is no longer their logo. So, I mean, just small thing.
Very cool. Thank you.
I guess knowing that, I guess if you think about, this, I guess schedules don't probably change ever in the sense that once it's, what the schedule is the schedule, and that you had rate limit issues with the API. What might be one thing that you could have implemented to kind of mitigate that issue?
I think the easiest way would have been just to get all of the games for the specific season. The issue there was with some of the data points that I had for the, if you go in here and you look at the fixture details, some of these would change week to week. Of course, you don't know like the referee and some of this stuff in here, but I guess I could have like added another route in order to get those things like per day or so, or just like to patch that per week, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and then one thing you could always look at is caching, not just for the rate limit issue, but it also helps with speed. So like data that doesn't change frequently is a perfect candidate to hash or cache so that you can read it in from your own database without having to make extra external API calls. So that could have been one mechanism that you could have used to help kind of get past that, one, the rate limit problem, and two, not having to make API calls that are kind of redundant because it's pulling in the same data constantly. So yeah, look at caching. Cool.
Yeah, these are all JSON from JSON. So like I pull it from the from their API and then I cache that JSON into into the database. But I like only do it once a week, I guess. Since the schedule's not always changing, I guess I could have done it for the full year, but then you also don't know for those like some cases where they've had a couple of COVID cases or outbreaks during this season. So like games canceled, like new games show up and stuff like that. So and then time change too. So like sometimes the kickoff time changes and stuff like that. I think once a week was okay, but I wish I would have been able to do it once a day. Like if I owned the API, like I would have been able to create something really, really cool, I think.
Awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, nice work, Jake. And
Thank you.
Apologies if I say this wrong. Michaela is up next.
It's Michaela.
Michaela. Oh, I even listened to the demo video before this. I was looking back at it. Oh, I should have checked again. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So, hi, my name is Michaela Dugil, and this is my web application called It's a Date. The motivation, well, the inspiration behind it is that I always hear people say, let's hang out, but they never actually do because they forget or people's schedules just don't match. So with It's a Date, the planning and scheduling can be done very easily. Let me show you how. From the home screen, the user can click on this blue button and they will be taken to the date form where there are fields that they can fill out. So for the activity, I'm going to choose picnic, day for tomorrow. I'll leave the time as is. And when the user clicks on the location field, it will automatically search for the user selected activity. Though it's not loading right now. Why? Okay, there we go. The user is also able to search in whatever they want, like ice cream. And when the user clicks on the set button, the address will be saved to the location field. The user is also able to add invites by clicking on this field. They will be taken to their contact list, and they can also create a new contact. Let's call this person Lola. And so now we have a new contact, Lola, and we can go ahead and invite her to our date. There's also an optional notes field, so we're just going to leave it blank. When the user clicks invite, they're going to be taken back to the home page where they can see color-coordinated dates, scheduled dates on the calendar, just to give the user a quick visual of what they have planned. And so right here, you can see that we have our scheduled date for tomorrow. The home screen also shows the first 3 upcoming dates the user has. And when the user clicks on this task icon, it will be taken to their daily schedules. So there's no scheduled dates for today, but for tomorrow, there's one. And in the future, the user can also click on a date directly from the calendar, and it will take them directly to their schedule. On this page is the invitation sent by the user, where the user can delete a date. So we can delete this one and see it's gone. And the user can also edit a date. So we can edit the one that we just created. So I don't want to invite Lola anymore. I want to go with Jeff or Tim. So we're going to click save. And then now you can see that we're not going with Lola anymore. We're going with Tim. So that's pretty much it for my app. It's a Date is a single page application that uses React and Node.js for the back end. And it's able to switch through pages using React Router. Right here is the code base for how I constructed my calendar, and it's made very easily by using Moment.js. So first, I just got the first and the last days of the month, and using those days, I generated the calendar days and arranged them into arrays to form each week. And then once the calendar days are generated, it just iterates through each week to style each day accordingly. To check if there's any date, also to show the previous and the next month, we use the same logic of updating the current month, getting the first and the last day, and then generating the calendar days again. To show if there's any dates scheduled for that day, I am fetching the data from the database and organizing them by date. So by that, I'm over here, it just checks if there is a date. If there's a date property scheduled or exists, then it just merges the scheduled date to that array, and it will be assigned to the date property of the accumulator. Otherwise, it will just create a new array of the scheduled date, and then it will be assigned to the new date property. And then over here, in this function, it just checks if there's a day scheduled for that day. If it does, then it will style it accordingly. If not, it just moves on. So that's pretty much it for how I constructed the calendar. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Great job. Any questions?
Have you thought about implementing like an email notification system to let them know like, oh, you have an event coming up or anything like that?
So that one I have, but it will be in the future. So I was thinking of implementing a user sign up using the phone number using Twilio. And so with that, it will connect them to their phone. And then so whenever someone invites another person, then it will give them a notification through their phone as a text message.
Okay. I would suggest having multiple options because some people might not be comfortable with, giving out their phone number and such.
Yeah,
So,
I'm actually, oh, sorry, continue.
Oh, no, that's it.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested right now with sign up. So right now I was just on the side trying to learn how to implement Google sign up, sign in, and sign out. So I'll actually do that in a little mini project that I was doing. So in the future, I will be implementing more than just phone numbers. So I will also be doing email, Google, and Facebook.
Awesome. Sounds good.
And for the separate strategies, are you how are you implementing those, or what have you learned as you kind of looked at the Google, Facebook, and email approach?
Right now, I haven't looked at the Facebook and the email one, only the Google. So I just used the Google API, GAPI, and it's kind of it actually wasn't really hard to use because the documentation is kind of iffy, but it just already gives you every method that you would need. So to check if there's like sign in and sign out. I haven't implemented the actual signing up part. I've just learned the sign in and sign out.
Okay, great work. And to wrap things up, we will have Katie.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, my name is Katie, and today I'm going to be talking about Oasis, which is an app for people who want to rent out someone's pool or list their own pool to be rented. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in as a swimmer. Oh no. It's not signing in. Oh, there it went. Okay, and when you first sign in as a swimmer, you're on the search page where you can search by location. And then when you search by location, you can see a list of all of the pools in that location. And if you click on one of them, you can view the information on that pool. You can see who it's hosted by, the hourly rate, a description, rules, and amenities. And then if you click on the Book Now button, you can select a date, start time, and an end time, and click Book to send the request. And then if I sign out and sign in on the host side, when you first sign in as a host, you view a list of your pools, and you can click here to add a pool and fill that out. And then if you click on one of the pools, you can view all the information on your own pool. And if you click right here, you see a list of the pending booking requests. You can see who's sending it, the date, and the start time and end time. And then they can accept or decline it right here. So for my code, I'm going to be talking about the booking requests component. And the component did mount, we're sending a fetch request with the host ID as a param. And then we are querying the database to select the name, date, start time, end time, and booking ID for all the booking requests where the host ID is the same as the one in the param and the status is pending. And then we're just responding with that. And then after that, we set the state with the body from the response, which would trigger the render method, which is calling the render bookings method, which is right here, which is mapping over the bookings from state and using date FNS to format the date and time, and then returning all of that information within the React elements. Something that I found challenging was the formatting of the date and time. Initially, I was trying to do the time on their own, but date FNS needs a date. And then after I had that all sorted out, I was only testing things on Chrome originally. And then I opened it on Safari and it crashed. So I had to reformat the date because the one that I had only Chrome accepts, I guess. So a couple of things that I want to do right now, I'm currently working on the host can edit a pool. I also want to add swimmer can view their booking requests and they can view their upcoming swims and view their previous swims and rate their previous swims. I also just started looking into hooks yesterday. So this was the original component for the one that I'm working on right now. It was a class component, and last night I refactored it using useEffect and the useState. So I've been looking into React hooks as well. Thank you.
Nice work. We've got 5 minutes before 1 o'clock. 4 minutes. If anybody has some questions, of course we can go over if needed.
What does useEffect replace in terms of the class methods as you were kind of making that refactor?
For the one that I used, it was just for the component did mount, and I also put an empty array as the second argument so that it would only happen on the component did mount.
Nice.
Okay, well, thanks to everybody for coming and for all of the students who were brave enough to participate today. Great jobs. Hopefully you guys have something to do now to celebrate now that the pressure is off, demo day is over. What we will do is we'll send out an email to all of the employers afterwards, share their LinkedIn and their GitHub profiles. And of course, as always, everybody's encouraged to connect on LinkedIn as well. One of the things I love about this stuff is that I know that everybody here is open to connecting and making themselves available, which is always a huge benefit for people entering the market and trying to kind of get their foot in the door. So thanks again, everybody. If there's anything else we can do for you, let me know. Always available. But I hope everybody has a great rest of the day and a great week as well. See y'all.
Thank you so much, TJ.